Hello and welcome back to the Franchise Growth Pod. My name is Belle, lead on all things marketing at AC Inc. And I got Angela today.
I get to be on the podcast. It's so funny. It's like it used to be me only on the podcast, and now it's like I will say it's a lot easier because I don't have to think as much and just talk.
You're saying when someone else coordinates and comes up with the questions and manages it, it's easier?
I know, isn't that weird?
It's almost like delegating is good, almost.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, I would have done it back then if I could have figured it out. I probably, but you saw that, hey, why are you doing this? I can do this. I can take over and make everybody's life easier. And you were so smart to see that, wait a minute, we could bring team members on this. And I really like that we've kept this podcast still just more internal. Because I think people with podcasts can get like really all over the place with, and then the audience isn't sure what they're going to get. I think hopefully our audience knows that, on this podcast, you're going to get expertise from the AC team, a lot of alignment and maybe different perspectives sometimes, but similar, but the same mission, the same core beliefs. Right. And so I think there's a good consistency that happens when you do it that way.
Totally. I fully agree. I think sometimes it's tough when just one person is managing a podcast like on their own, and then you really do get to a point where you need to bring in new people to like keep the content kind of interesting and engaging, because there's only so much one person can kind of just talk to every week, right? But with what's really cool is the variety that we get with the different team members, and we do bring on clients and a couple partners and stuff every once in a while just to kind of mix it up, but always and of course, if you've listened to any of our LinkedIn post episodes or anything like that, I talk about this a lot, but having those consistent core content like pillars or themes, and that's something I think we've really tried to do on the podcast, as you said, is like sometimes it's about franchising, sometimes it's about mindset, sometimes it's about field coaching, but it's always going to be in that realm. You're not going to ever get someone coming on and talking about something completely random that really doesn't have anything to do with those pieces. Just because, that consistency and knowing that you're going to get that type of value is something we really wanted to maintain through the different guests and stuff. But I really do agree. And it's been so fun. It's been such a fun past year of the whole team getting to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're actually going to dive right into our icebreaker question. I feel like I did not give you any kind of proper intro. I imagine everyone who's listening knows who you are. Angela Cote, our fearless leader, founder and CEO of AC Inc. But you all know that. And if you don't, you should go check her out on LinkedIn because it's all there. I have an icebreaker question though. So this is something for if you're new listening. We do an icebreaker question to kind of kick off every episode. They're completely random. I just come up with them usually right before.
I'm very nervous right now, just for the record. I don't know what it's going to be.
It's so fun because a lot of the questions and stuff we try to have prepped, like people on knowing kind of the value we're going to be sharing or certain key takeaways and stuff. But the random icebreakers are just that. They're icebreakers. So no one knows. It's very fun. And we typically try to both answer them. And it's just a way to get to know the team a little bit better. And also, Angela always loves a good icebreaker. If you're ever on a round table with her or any, she loves a this or that, or would you rather, or whatever. So we try to keep that as part of the theme. So today's question, I went easy on you. This is just a yes or no question, just curiosity. Do you collect anything, or are you like a sentimental person? Do you have anything that you collect in your life?
Ooh, that's good. I would say I don't collect anything intentionally, but I am a sentimental person. So I do save some things. I try not to be overly, like probably the opposite of you. I imagine you probably, because you're very good at being like kind of minimal about things. Like it's impressive.
Yeah, I was gonna say I am not a sentimental person. Although my heart does grow 3 sizes every time like someone is sentimental, and I do think it's very sweet. Like we got our wedding album just delivered to us a few weeks ago, and it melted my heart just thinking about having all of those in like a photo album. And we don't have any photo albums, so like it's not like they're building on a big collection, but things like that, like thinking about taking time to put together like memories. I have a tiny little memory box in storage from when I was a kid, but I don't have anything that I'm like, I collect all the birthday cards or, nothing like that. I'm definitely free of clutter. Do you keep like birthday cards or kids drawing?
I
Do you have any of those from when
I
you're
keep
younger and stuff?
selective birthday
Yeah.
cards and things. Like I used to, when I think when the kids were younger, when my kids were younger, I might have kept more of them. But now I went through that all and got rid of a lot of stuff. But I think I keep like things that had more, that when I looked at it, it actually felt like it had meaning. Uh yeah, I've got like maybe two boxes or around of things that like cards and that kind of stuff, or like especially when you've had kids, it changes a
Yeah.
little, like you keep certain things, right? So
Although, were your parents ever, there's a bit of a running joke in a couple of my friends and my family have about when your parents keep, my parents don't do this, just to be clear, but their parents do, like my grandparents, where they keep like all your old like trophies from when you, like those little kid trophies you get, and then all the like old school projects, and they just give you at a certain point in your adulthood these
yeah,
boxes of stuff.
you're like, thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're like, why would you want that from your own self? I guess it's kind of fun to look back. It does. You know what? We did, my parents or my mom did a little bit of that. And it was funny to look back at it and kind of reflect on, oh, it kind of like it triggered, I remember this or it triggered something. But yeah, I think it's important to have like, just, I don't know, some sentiment, but
Totally, totally. But yeah,
yeah. So
it's more the boxes and boxes of like more and more things. I think I really love, actually one thing I think I would get sentimental over is like there's a couple like baby like onesies or sleepers or outfits that like all of my sisters and I wore that now my
yeah,
nephew's wearing, and just or like a little baby hat, right, that everyone wore.
yeah.
So little things like that I think are really, really precious and sweet. Like for some reason baby outfits that have been
Oh,
like families for a couple generations or shared around siblings and stuff, I think that is really, really sweet and cute when people
yeah. I think you just have to be selective. And yeah, I don't collect anything like, special coins or anything like that. I try to collect money.
honestly, that's a great answer, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the one thing I collect. There you go.
That's actually the best answer. Okay, awesome. So that was our icebreaker. Always fun to get to know each other a little bit better. Um, the topic today is actually a little bit different. I'm really looking forward to hearing a bit more. You and I have talked about cold water swimming and
Speaking
mental toughness.
speaking of icebreakers.
Oh my gosh, what a segue.
Mhm.
You should be hosting this. That was perfection. That was so good. But we have talked about cold water swimming and mental toughness a whole bunch, you and I personally before, but and you've posted lots of you swimming on your Instagram is kind of typically where that content goes. And we talk a lot about having a good mindset where you kind of are proving to yourself continuously that you can do hard things and all. So we're going to dive into all of that. And we're going to start with, for anyone who doesn't know, Angela goes and dips and swims and hangs out in the ocean at any given day on any given month. And it is incredibly impressive. I want to know how that started. I do know the story a little bit, but I want you to tell how that started and kind of what that evolution, because I know it's been a while that's been a part of your kind of weekly routine is going and jumping in the ocean.
Mhm. Yeah, so I've lived on Vancouver Island for 23 years. And as you know, I'm a beach gal. I like the beach, but I never really embraced the beach because it was cold water in the ocean year round. For anybody that's listening that maybe doesn't know, when you get, west coast of Canada, the Pacific Ocean is always cold. And you can swim in lakes here in the summer, but
I was gonna say it's tough to want to go in the ocean when there's a lot of really beautiful lakes on the island that are
Mhm.
much warmer.
And I grew up going to swimming in Lake Huron, in Ontario, where I grew up. And so that was my nature to like, not go in cold water. But I also I was a runner for many years. I did a lot of racing and stuff like that. And my body often needed, like help. And so people would go and stand in the ocean, and I did that a little bit, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, like up to my knees. when I was in all the running I did. But then I had to stop running because the knees finally just kind of weren't allowing that. And I switched gears and became a swimmer, and I used the gym and stuff. And so when things were all locked down in like, because of the pandemic, I would be out walking, fast walking. That was the best I could do. And I would see these people going in the ocean, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been like, it was, the trend was really, it was like growing. Right.
Mm.
And I've been seeing it and thinking, I'd love to do that, but I don't have the guts to just go do it. I mean, I could maybe jump in and out, but these people would be in the water. I'd look and they'd be in there for like, now for the record, this was, July, August that I was seeing them. So it was the warmer summer days, at least just the cold water, but the summer days. But I would see them and they'd be standing or wading around or maybe even swimming with their face in. And I was like, what's going on? And then when I looked at them, I'm like, they're not like Olympic athletes, they're everyday people. A lot of them older than me and maybe a little bit less, mobile looking, right? I like even struggling sometimes to get into the water. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, if they can do it, I should be able to do it. So I had heard about this group called the Oddballs Victoria. So I was like, are you guys the Oddballs Victoria? Like, I called down, I'm like, who are you guys? They're like, no, we're the cold water addicts, which there's a Facebook group for. So they're like, come join us. So that day I just kind of learned about it, and I found out that they go every day at 8 a.m. in that same spot, 2 blocks from my house, called the Breakwater, Ogden Point Breakwater. And like, they go no matter what, and they go. And I was like, okay, I have no excuse. And because of this was 2020, I was like, well, or maybe it's 2021. I don't know, but they had developed it because the gyms were closed. I was like, you know what? I should do that. So I joined them, and I remember I was like, so like my adrenaline was like going so off the charts on my way to the ocean, and got in with them. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I couldn't believe I was doing it. Funny thing is, when I look back now, that was a warmer day. Like, the ocean gets a little warmer. I will say it gets a little warmer in the summer. For our Canadians that know Celsius, or anybody that's not in the US, it goes from the coldest being about 7 degrees in the winter to 12, 13, maybe 14 degrees Celsius in the summer. So I did it, and I was like, that's awesome. So that's how I got started. Oh my gosh, the group is so fun and inclusive. You can only imagine like a bunch of people that go in the ocean. They like, every time it's still cold, we laugh our heads off. Anyway, that's how I got started. It was fun because they made it fun. So
That's awesome. I love the way that you got started was not because you were like, I need to build up mental toughness, and it was literally just, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. They go in every day. It's freaking so cold.
I was like, it was
Yeah, I should
curiosity. I think curiosity. I'm like, why are they doing this? Like, I'd heard about the benefits of cold water therapy or cold water dipping or even cryotherapy. So I'd heard about it and really piqued my interest. And yeah, so then I see it and I'm like curious, and I'm like, wait a minute, everyday people can do this?
that
All
it,
right, let's
it's,
go.
it's really special, and I think it speaks to your personality that you saw some fun people doing something and you go, I could do that. That is a very Angela Coche thing to
I
think.
heard them laughing. I'm like, hey, I'll go
I
have
want
some
to
fun.
go have some fun in the ocean. So I want to get you to explain a little bit about the way that you thought about the journey of the cold water immersion. As you said, you went the first time on a slightly warmer day, like it was at least sunny or not freezing
Yeah.
outside of the water, which is, I'm sure, a big piece of it. But I did want to share something. I'm not even sure if you know this, but Angela and I talk a lot about how we like almost cross paths, or kind of like we're ships in the night a couple times, while we both lived in the same city.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you know this, but I photographed one of the cold water immersion groups literally like the week before COVID hit in the spring of 2020. I went and took photos for a publication I was working for, and I photographed this group, and it was not that exact same group. It wasn't the exact same spot you were describing, but how funny is it that we could
Mhm.
have hypothetically
I
have
could
met
have been in your photo,
literally.
and we wouldn't have known each other. And then you look back and go, there you are.
Anyways, it was just really funny. I just thought of that. I was like, it's funny how many times you and I, our paths were like just almost
Yeah. Yeah.
before we officially started working together. But what I was going to ask is, so you go try it. It's super fun. I think that's honestly a great lesson to anyone. Is just, and we've done a podcast actually about this before, where we talked a lot about that, having curiosity, having that zest for just like going and trying new things. Doesn't have to be your, you know, you could have tried it a couple times and been like, this is not for me. Like it could have been nothing to do with alcohol. You could have just been like, this is not my vibe. I don't like doing this first thing in the morning. And that totally could have been the whole thing, right? It doesn't have to become your everyday routine. But for you, it did. For you, the feeling of going in, having such a fun group to do it with. I know that your path with it has evolved a lot because obviously it changes when it's winter. That journey changes a lot. And also, I happen to know that you have now like a full uniform, like you've got your float, you've got your gloves, like you are set for any time, anywhere you could jump in the ocean. But like take me from even just briefly the path, like even just briefly taking me through, but how did you get from trying it out because it was fun and everyone was laughing and you go in and give it a go to now it's like a part of your routine. It's something that you do regularly and really, really enjoy. Like, how did that process work?
Okay. I have to quickly throw in something, go over to the side, and then I'll come right back to the question. I just had a flashback when you were saying like how you could go try something and then, you might try it and be like, okay, I tried that. Cause like some people have that thing where they just want to try things and just be able to say they did it. Like, I did this one hike or I did this, that. Just, I don't know if you know this, but I used to be a very regular hot yoga person, which is so funny because it's the opposite.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
But
that's
yet still intense. It's very intense for anyone
it.
like, yeah, like, and if Bikram hot yoga where they're yelling at you, like, go back, go back, go back. And you're like, I'm trying. And like, actually, I stopped doing it because I have kind of like looser joints. Like I'm pretty flexible. So like my physiotherapist was like, you're not, you're already like, you're pushing yourself in there. And anyway, I was getting injured. So I wasn't good at like not listening to the instructor. I wanted to just do what they were telling me to do. Anyway, I loved it. I guess I like intense things. Okay. So the answer to the question of like, from that first time to continuous. And I hope that actually in telling this, people will take this as some maybe there'll be like a little sort of inspiration in this, because what happened for me is I was like, well, maybe I'll do this once a week, something like that. And so I kind of became regular, but then
that feels doable. Once a week is
yeah, I'm you know me, I'm all about like simple, consistent little action steps that we can commit to. But then I went away for a couple, like on and off, a couple times for conferences in this fall, franchise conferences. We all know that's conference season. And one of the ones I got back and it was like late November and the weather had really been changing. And I'm like, I can't do it. I think I did one and I was like, that was stupid. I got out. It took me forever to get warm. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like why?
not, no.
Like, why would you do that? That's what I'm thinking. But again, these people kept going. And so then I stopped, and I think that was around late November of that year. But then I would be out doing this, like one of my routine, like I do different things for exercise, but one of the things would be these brisk walks on the breakwater, which means I would walk right past them in the morning, and they're still going, like whether it's dark and rainy, whether it's snowing, whether it's windy and wavy, they're jumping around and laughing. Oh shit. Sorry, something just happened at my office. I'm good though. I'm gonna have to beep that out. Anyway, they would go whether it was windy or snowy or wavy. They'd be jumping around. I'm like, that looks so fun. Like they're like kids in the ocean. So I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to go on November 1st January 1st, because it's the new year and, we want to do something to start the year off right. So I resolved in my head, enough is enough. I'll go on January 1st where there'll be a lot of people there, right? It'll be like that excitement of a lot of people. So I decided to go for it. Well, January 1st, there was snow, which in Victoria is unusual, as you know. And it was snowing, and I'm like texting on the group, do we still go? Heck yeah. So I mean, I have pictures of it. I went in the snow. Just to be clear, everybody always asks, do you wear a wetsuit? No, I do not. Like you said, I have things I wear, but I do not wear a wetsuit. I wear a regular bathing suit with wetsuit gloves, wetsuit boots, and then like a swim cap with a little liner underneath. So it's, the intention is to be cold. So I went on January 1st and decided from there, I should, if I can do this today, I can do it any other day, whatever the weather is. And so that restarted for me. So it's become every week when I'm around, I go twice a week on Monday and Saturdays. I'm not so hardcore that I go looking for people when I travel. Some of my group do, like they'll find a group, like wherever you go, wherever you live, I bet you if you Google cold water immersion groups, you'll find something if there's water that is cold. But yeah, so that's how I got going with it. And became relatively, I guess, regular.
That's so cool. And I think your mindset around that, and we are going to kind of shift into talking more about this mindset piece, because as much as Angela is an incredible storyteller, we want to also make sure there's some tangibles. But with the cold water swimming and through your storytelling there, you kind of narrated these two pieces. Like on one hand, it's the small, consistent steps, and that's something you've always been quite good at. I have found, like, that's a kind of almost like a personality trait, is you're not like, I'm going to read 4 books in a week. Like, you're not really that type. Some people are really like, I'm going to go all in or nothing. I married one. It's like, I'm gonna run up a mountain every single day, but only for like 5 days. And then now too tired, because like that was a lot. Right. But you have always been really, really good at that, 10 pages of a book a day, or I'm going to put in my
It's 1 page a day.
That's
okay. How simple I make it. I make it so achievable. That's the goal, is make it so, anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
But I think that piece of you looking at this, okay, you never at any point were like, I have to go every single day and I have to make that, do you know what I mean? I have to make this my whole morning every single day. At no point, and if you did think that was doable, you would have done that. But instead, initially you went once a week, and then you weren't like, I have to go tomorrow in November when you were thinking about it. You said, I'm going to go on January 1st because I know I can get myself excited to go. And then by doing, so that was kind of the first piece that through that story, I think that is a really important part of this puzzle, is that looking at tiny little steps that can be implemented regularly, not even constantly, but just regularly.
Yeah.
It's a big part of us creating these routines, creating these health changes, all those types of things. But the other piece is the proving to yourself. And when you went on, and you've told me the story, which is why I knew to correct you to January 1st.
Yeah, like what day was that? Yeah, January.
But when we talked about that, and you said, you're like, one of the reasons though I wanted to go then, first, because it was exciting, because there was lots of people, and I knew I could get, I could get myself amped up enough to go in on such a cold day, but also because I knew if I did it that day, there would never be any other excuse, right? Like, we're going on the snowiest, I'm sure it was windy, freezing cold, like it was the worst of the worst possible situations doing that in. So then it's almost like, because you did something incredibly difficult, you're proving to your body, your mind, all these things, that there would never be another excuse as to like, oh, I can't do that, that's too hard. It's like, no, I already did it. Like, it's it might be hard still, and it might still be challenging every time because it's still freaking cold, but that excuse of it's too hard for me goes away, because you already have done it in a way harder situation.
Yeah.
So I think those two pieces, if we're talking about, and I'll have you kind of tie that into just like more about the business side and how you take that into more elements of your life. But I just thought those two pieces of it are very foundational to the key takeaways that we talked about for this episode. But and things that when I see you go out, I'm like, that's what I think about, is that consistent action, the proving to yourself that you can do tough things or get through tough times. I just think those are really, really important points to make there.
So I've been super tuned in. I hadn't realized this about myself and about just productivity and achievement, I guess, in general. For some reason, it's been standing out lately for me. But yeah, small, consistent. That word consistent has really been on the radar, that like, just, like, do it regularly, like you said, like not constantly, not every day, but consistent, like, and committing to that and making it so achievable. So yeah, that's true. And other thing I think that is important is because everybody was asking me, why do you do it? Like, why? And I think it ties back into anything you do that's hard. And, we talk all the time about what's your why, not like your big why in life, but like for the thing you're doing, what's your why? And if there's a strong why, then it makes it also more, not all achievable, or like makes you more motivated to do it. And for the interesting thing with this, and I think this applies to just, again, like, I think there's some takeaways here, but my original thing was I'd heard about it helps with inflammation. Like, okay, I have some inflammation still in my joint, like my joints and whatever. And I'd also heard it's great for like mental clarity, and some other things. And so that drove me to do it. But then I got in there and realized, oh my gosh, there's even more. There's euphoria. There's the laughing there's connection with other people. There's, I think, immune system. There's all kinds of benefits that I've read and heard. And, it's crazy the benefits,
And
that you can get
and
from that.
and just accomplishment. I think that's another thing about,
You know what? I think it's really good for us as humans to do something that is a challenge, so that you can have that good feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that's a huge one for me for why I do it.
because I was going to say, as much as we all hear like, oh, this is going to change your liver or make you healthier, all these things. Yeah, okay. Lots of people have told me that fruit is also bad for me or whatever. Like, there's all kinds of whatever going.
Yeah.
Really, if we get down to why people do those types of things, or why people do the cold plunges in there. I have a friend who bought a cold plunge because he was like, I love it. I love doing it in the morning.
Wow.
Doing it kind of at the end of a long night if I was working late or whatever. And he just loves it. And it's interesting because it's like, it's not, the why behind it is not because of all the immune system. It's not that. It's I like how I feel when I've done something like that. And that's how I think a lot of people feel about running, hiking, weight training, doing puzzles. You and I are both big puzzle fans. That's the same feeling I get when I finish a tough one. Like, I think just having challenges in our lives, as much as the real challenges that come up in our lives are really hard and not fun, and often don't have that same exact feeling. But by doing these other things that are challenges that we present ourselves with, I think it's almost like proving to yourself over and over that you can do hard things, and you can, accomplish challenges when they are put in front of you, even when real life ones like family, issues, struggles, health issues, all that type of stuff is so much more real. But knowing that we can accomplish things like going in the ocean in January, or, going in a cold plunge at 6 a.m. before work, whatever these little things that almost proves to yourself and helps you when you are faced with tough conversations at work, tough, decisions about life choices or whatever it is, right? I think it's all kind of ties back to that same piece about trusting in yourself and knowing you can do, tough things.
Yeah. And I just want to go back quickly when you said, or I had said before about, hopefully there's something a little bit inspiring about this. What I was trying to say there, now that the story's out, is that like we all struggle sometimes with our goals, right? Like, I had a goal, I started to go once a week, and then I don't failed, whatever. I stopped doing it. I lost my motivation to do it. And then I found it again. And whether it's the same thing that you were trying to do or something else, I think I'm hoping that like that just comes across as like, yeah, that's normal. Like, and I would never, if you'd asked me, I guess especially 3 years ago, if you told me this, I'd be doing this, I'd be like, no way I will be. Like, I will not. Like, I did not think I would be able to do this. And I, to this day, like, like I think that, but at the same time, it's not a big deal. Like, it is a big deal, but now I know I can do it. Like, so for the record, it doesn't get easier to get in the water. It is cold. We laugh because we're like, every time we get in, we're like, oh, it's cold, we're making all these like jokes about, well, it's not as cold as yesterday, but or like, I don't know, just dumb jokes and things. We've all agreed it never gets easier to get in, but you just know you can do it. So face the challenge, know you can do it, and know you're going to get, like you said, that feeling after of like, I did it. Like, That is definitely a big part of why I do it. I go to the gym. I'm pretty, again, consistent with like gym, swimming in the pool as well, and things like that. And I don't get the same feeling if I go work out on the elliptical and do some weight training as I do, going in the ocean. So I have to have that in the mix.
Yeah. I think this was incredibly inspiring. And I hear what you're saying about it's not to say like this story is it like my story is inspiring. I totally understand that.
Yeah, didn't mean it like that.
No, no, no. And I knew what you meant as soon as you said it, but I also knew the story that was coming. But I think you put it so beautifully at the end there that it's really more about, as you said, challenges never get easier. Being faced with hard things never ultimately is like not any issue at all. That's why they're hard, is because they're always going to be a challenge. But as you said, when you prove to yourself that you can do these tougher things, or that you can face these things, and you know that, and you've proven that to yourself, I think it changes the game in business, in life, in sport, in health, and all these things. It really it does make a really big difference, and that's
Helps you hit your goals.
yeah, yeah. And that's ultimately what we wanted to talk about today. So I think this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. So thank you so much, Angela, for joining and sharing your story. We'll have to post a photo of you in your cute cap. And
Oh yeah, I look so awesome and very cool. I have to say, right now I'm getting this like urge to go in the water.
oh my God, hilarious.
I haven't been in for a couple of weeks because I've been away. So now I'm like, oh, I gotta get in there tonight. But,
Go
and
for
then
it.
my husband, my poor husband, I'm always like, do you want to go? He never like, he's like, no, I have no interest in doing that. All right, I'll just go by myself.
Okay, well, you can come watch.
Yeah, go watch, make sure I'm safe. But thanks.
Well, thank you again so much, Angela. This was awesome.
Thanks for letting me tell that. It's
Oh my
fun.
gosh. Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful. And do you want to do the honors to finish us off?
Ooh, okay, you ready for this? Go be awesome.